Hello, bookworms. Welcome back to the Bonafide Bookworm. I'm your host, Rachel, and if you're here to read along with me and improve your English. So today, a few updates. One, I just wanted to remind you all that our next book will be As You Wish, Inconceivable Tales from The Princess Bride by Carrie Elwes. I can never say his name right. And Joal. So just a reminder, that's going to be our next book if you would like to read along with us. Of course, you can always just listen. And then I was thinking, I haven't done a review in a while, and I think I may have reviewed this, but I couldn't find it right off. So I'm just going to do another review. We'll see. So one of my all-time favorite books, like a classic, is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and it was published in 1847. And part of the reason I love that book is because it's a classic Gothic story. Everything is just kind of a little dark, and I like that. It also has a mystery to it that you're trying to figure out, and it has a love story. There have been movie adaptations. There's been several, but the two best adaptations would be one from 1996 that has William Hurt, Anna Paquin, she plays young Jane Eyre, and then Charlotte Gainsbourg, she plays the adult Jane Eyre. And that one very much follows the book. I'm trying to remember if there's really a lot of differences, but I don't think that there are. It's pretty steady. It's right on, right there with the book. The other really good one that is more recent was done in 2017, and it had William Hurt played Mr. Rochester. He's one of the main characters. Jane Eyre, obviously the book is called Jane Eyre, is the other main character. So the next one that was done, or the next one that I think is worth watching, is from 2017, and Michael Fassbender plays Mr. Rochester, and I'm going to mess up her name, Mia Wasikowska. I may have said that right, maybe not. I believe she also played in The Lovely Bones. She's a really good actress, but she is in it. And I really liked Mr. Rochester's mansion and all that. And I felt like they had pretty good chemistry too. And it's pretty close to the book. I think it skips ahead a few things, but that's okay. And I guess I should explain too, like the book is about an orphan who is sent to a school to learn how to be a governess, and she finishes school and she is offered a job at Mr. Rochester's home to teach his ward. And so she goes there and lives there, and as she lives there, she sees that weird things are happening that don't add up, that don't make sense. She kind of starts to fall in love with Mr. Rochester, but he's very off-putting, like he gives her very mixed signals, so you're just kind of confused what's going on with him, what his story is. It's all shrouded in mystery, and nobody wants to say anything, and so Jane Eyre is trying to figure out, like, what's his deal? Why is he this way? So it's a good book if you haven't read it. It is classic, so it's like more old school English language, which some people might find annoying, but I don't know, I kind of enjoy it. They write in a different format, and it just sounds more elegant than I could probably ever be. But anyway, check that out. So we're gonna pick back up with Saving Sadie by Joal, Derse, Dauer with Elizabeth Ridley. And when we left off, Columbine had just happened, and so Joal kind of realized like part of Sadie's message should be anti-bullying, and so now she's trying to think of ways to get Sadie involved in that. So we're going to pick back up on page 158 at the very top. We were still reeling following the news from Newtown, and our hearts were still heavy with grief. 2 days later, on Sunday, December 16th, when Chris, Sadie, and I drove to Kenosha to appear on Dobby's show, The Mothership Connection. The show tended to highlight subjects with a paranormal theme, hence the name. But since it was Dobby's show, he was free to book guests on a wide range of topics, and given his support of animal issues, Sadie was a natural fit. Unfortunately, Asia was not able to join us for the show that night, but Dobby promised that he'd get us all together on the show sometime in the future. We could have chosen to do the show remotely via telephone, but Chris and I and Sadie decided to drive to the studio in Kenosha to appear in person so Dobby and everyone else could meet Sadie and she could work her magic on them, just as she had on all the folks at WKLH. Dobby's show was a blast. Again, the hour passed so quickly, and we found that Dobby is a real showman, a natural entertainer, and a genuinely nice man who was so kind, warm, and funny, allowing us to tell Sadie's story and really connect with his audience of devoted listeners. The news got even better 2 days later when Dobby featured Sadie in his Dobby Maxwell's Dented Can Diary, a blog/column he regularly wrote for onmilwaukee.com, Milwaukee's biggest and best known online digital magazine. The blog post was titled, "Sadie Steals the Show," and after providing a bit of Sadie's backstory, Dobby wrote, "Sadie was pure magic and made everyone feel great. She has a very tangible vibe that radiates from her at all times, and she was the undisputed star of the evening from the instant she got out of the car and limped up to the door of the radio station." "Sadie," I shouted to her as I read the computer screen in my study, "Dobby says you were the undisputed star of the evening." She smiled and wagged her tail. I continued reading in earnest. Seeing her in person and feeling her wonderful energy was one of the most inspiring moments I think I've ever had. Dobby's article continued, "She will be an inspiration to all who see her." Normally, I would have squealed with delight at reading those words, but my throat was too clogged with tears for me to even utter a sound. What a beautiful article, and a beautiful tribute. I spent so much time with Sadie on a daily basis, 24/7, when I wasn't at work, that I sometimes felt I had developed a type of tunnel vision where she was concerned. Of course, to me, Sadie was beautiful and wonderful and remarkable and inspirational, but I was her mom, and I loved her, so my opinion was not exactly objective. Maybe other people saw her as just an ordinary dog, or worse, as a disabled dog with a multitude of special needs. A dog who sucked up lots of valuable resources and had nothing meaningful to offer in return. But when I read an article like Dobby's or saw some of the hope-filled and inspiring messages posted on Sadie's Facebook page, or watched the way Sadie interacted with special needs people like Noah from Acres of Hope and Aspirations, all my doubts and fears and reservations disappeared. Other people were able to feel and experience and be moved by Sadie's magic. They only had to be willing to open their eyes and their hearts wide enough to do so. When Christmas 2012 arrived, I was fortunate to be able to spend the day enjoying a fantastic Christmas Day brunch with my extended family. Daughters, sons-in-law, grandchildren, and my older daughter Joey's home, celebrating as we always did with the formal brunch in our PJs, drinking mimosas and coffee, and opening presents under a gigantic tree. Joey is a natural-born hostess, and she knew just the right touches to make it an extra special event. It was wonderful to share quality time with my family when we all had such busy lives, but there was some discomfort in the air as well. We didn't talk much about Sadie, but I got the sense that my daughters were still coming to terms with Sadie and the way she had completely taken over my life. I was sorry for the tension it was causing, but I truly believed that ultimately they would see that all the effort on Sadie's behalf would be worth it in the end. Until then, we were all slightly walking on eggshells around one another, and that caused me deep sadness and concern. One of the highlights of my Christmas was spending quiet time at home with Sadie, Sparky, Kit Kat, and Miss Kitty. My special gift to Sadie was a sled, just a kid's plastic sled from Target. The wonderful Beth, a local law enforcement officer, had sewn a custom-made cushion fabric insert for the sled with an attached blanket that featured Sadie's paw print in green, her signature color. The insert had shiny red ribbons on the edges so it could be tied down and secured inside the sled, thereby keeping Sadie warm and protecting her from all the bumps and other rough spots in the snow. On the day after Christmas, I took Sadie to a local dog park, where I let her try out the sled for the very first time. The weather was perfect for sledding, with bright, unfiltered sunshine filling the sky and temperatures just above freezing. The air was crisp and quiet, all harsh sounds muffled, right angles softened, and sharp edges blunted by a fresh, downy shroud of snow. The trees in the distance were shorn of all leaves, but still managed to look elegant, their branches encased in lacy gloves and frozen sleeves of ice. As I pulled Sadie in her brand new sled up the gently rolling hills, packed hard with snow, the air was fresh with notes of evergreen and peppermint, and my breath came fast as I stomped through the rutted tracks and frozen impressions of heavy-soled boots. Initially, I thought Sadie might be scared of sledding, but she absolutely loved it. She took to the sled like it was made for her, sitting up tall and proud as I pulled her to the top of a hill and gave her a determined push. I laughed so hard when the sled hurtled down the hill like a bowling ball and people scattered like pins to get out of her way. I ran to the bottom of the hill, and as soon as I got there, Sadie refused to get out of the sled and instead begged me to take her back to the top again. This dog park was a kind of hidden gem, located in the Milwaukee suburbs on the county roads, where for years an old sanitarium stood, a looming, shadowy, dark-windowed relic of the Victorian age. With diseases and differences were shunned and shamed and marginalized, left to wither in institutions until they died, conveniently out of sight and out of mind. Just like what would have happened to Sadie had fate not intervened, I thought with a shudder. After a few trips down the hill, I guided the sled to flat land, and after pulling Sadie for a short distance to introduce her to the feeling, I took off at a run, sprinting across the open field, building up speed so she could feel the breeze parting her fur and the wind buffeting her face. Sadie absolutely loved riding fast on the sled. Her tongue wagged, her eyes glowed, and her whole body seemed to vibrate with life, energy, and excitement. I had never before seen her so fully engaged, so fully immersed in anything. Then I realized that Sadie must love this feeling so much because it reminded her what it felt like to run. She wasn't born this way, hobbled, hopping, and reduced to dragging herself across the floor. I had only known her in this diminished state, but she had had an entire life before I met her, a life where she was tall and straight and strong, a muscular hunting dog with powerful legs that propelled her forward from a slow trot to a loping gallop to a flat-out run, racing through the rough Appalachian hills of her home, sniffing out pheasants and badgers and fleet-footed hare. That memory still lived somewhere deep inside her, like a dormant muscle just begging to be exercised, a tiny flame always flickering, waiting for someone to throw open the doors and let oxygen rush in, whipping that nascent flame back to full, glorious, blazing life. We were both exhausted, invigorated, but also spent as I pulled her in the sled back to the parking lot and popped open the hatch on my SUV. I lifted Sadie from the sled and placed her inside. Then I jumped in and sat beside her with my legs dangling over the edge, knocking snow from my boots and rubbing my mittened hands for warmth. Our breath was visible, clouds wreathing our mouths as we watched the sun dip, tipping toward its early post-solstice descent into darkness. I wrapped my arms around Sadie's shoulders and cuddled her for warmth. "Thank you, Sadie," I whispered against her ear, "for making 2012 one of the best years of my life. You've taught me so much, inspired me to dream bigger, to try so many new and different things. In exchange, I promise to make your 2013 amazing and to make it the year you will walk again." All right, so we're going to stop there because that goes into chapter 9. Coming up, Sadie goes to Asia. Dun, dun, dun. So she's branching out. She's going different places, spreading her message. So that's awesome. So, yes, we'll pick back up next Tuesday. trying to do better at recording ahead and actually posting my videos. I was so disappointed in myself when I recorded ahead and then didn't post it. So stupid. Anyway, but wherever you're at, I hope it's great, and I hope you have a great day, week, year, but I hope you come back here. Bye.